Hello, and welcome to the Jazz Right Now podcast. Jazz Right Now is a podcast based out of Purchase College that is dedicated to the art form of jazz and how we can elevate this music. Join us as we interview several different jazz musicians discussing jazz education, youth outreach, and several other topics. We hope to inspire seasoned jazz musicians or even young men and women who are just curious about this music. It'd be a pleasure to have you, so come join the Jazz Right Now podcast. We have our guest, Aidan Carberry, and he's a fellow student at SUNY Purchase at the Jazz Conservatory. And he's also a freshman jazz drummer along with me, and it's great to talk to him. I have just some questions for him. My first question is, did organized jazz jams help inspire you and push you as a player?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, going to jam sessions, I only started going to jam sessions February of 2020, so it was kind of right before everything shut down.
Oh, yeah.
So I was going every Tuesday night to this bar in the other town over, and I knew the guy who was running it, and I was just working to get to a point where I could go to this jazz jam and be confident, not embarrass myself.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of impossible not to embarrass yourself, at least the first time. So I went there for my first time, and they called this really hard tune, and I
think you were telling me about this. Was it Stablemates?
Stablemates, yeah. And on the ride there, I was saying, I hope they don't call Stablemates. And first, I sit down, and first tune, it was Stablemates. I guess they knew I was new there, and they just wanted to bust my chops.
Yeah. Wow.
But when I really started to listen to what people were playing and figuring out what I should be playing and what I shouldn't be playing. When should I play something? When should I not? And the when should I not is a huge factor, because I could play all the time. I couldn't stop, but knowing when not to play is incredible.
Hard,
and that's something that probably the most valuable lesson I learned going to organized jam sessions, I'd say.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's just a great thing to have locally, and I'm sure it's jazz jams all over the country like this just inspire the new generation. So I don't see there should be more jazz jams, more jams in general all over the place.
That's a big goal with this podcast, is to just promote it and just talk about how we should just make this more available and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've missed out on a lot of jazz jams just being where I'm from. I mean, there were some in the other county below, and it would have been maybe a 40-minute to an hour drive. Even just one way.
Yeah,
and
Salt Lake has a very small jazz community, right?
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Yeah, a lot of big. I feel like everybody knows each other though. Even from out of state, there's some pretty big names in Salt Lake. For Salt Lake, I mean.
Yeah,
I'm sure you know most of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of cool connections in the community, and it's a great community. We've gone Carl Allen out there, and then Steve Lyman's from there, and he's out here, and he's brought, cool shit back. I went to his clinics at the University of Utah when I was really young, and it was really hard for me to grasp all the information, but that really inspired me. and just that one thing.
It's always about inspiring to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Of your playing, right, and pushing not just the young generation, but the old blood too, and the old guard to, maybe inspire them to come up with new things and push themselves. I mean, it's just really important to have to be playing music with just fellow musicians. I mean, they could be anybody from any walk of life, and you get up there, and that's, it's just the music, and that's great, I think. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah, it's it's just something I really wanted to ask you, because I mean, coming from like Long Island, it's a way different thing. I feel like you definitely have a way more.
Very saturated. Very saturated with musicians. I'm surprised I didn't go to jams sooner, but I guess I just didn't think I was ready.
Yeah.
But then one day my teacher was, I mean, it was still a while until I actually went to a session, but my teacher one day was just like, I think you're ready to go. I'll call John and tell him you're ready to come up there. This is the guy who ran it, was the saxophone player, John Restrepo, and he worked at the music and arts that I was taking lessons at.
Oh yeah, that's cool
too. So I knew him, and jazz jams. I think they're great.
Yeah, I mean, coming to the few I've really been to here. I mean, just with like whatever we've done outside. I mean, it's just been great. It's been it's just been great practice, even though it's not me like sitting at the kit like reading or like really listening to something or transcribing something. It's like really helped my sound.
No, it's
playing with other people. I mean, and trying all sorts of different tunes.
That's for sure. Coming here, like that's like the same lesson. Just that's kind of like what I got from the jams originally. It was just like listening and knowing what to play. Like when I came here, that's all I've been doing. I mean, I practice, plenty of stuff every day, but I think where I've really advanced is just the listening aspect and developing your ears, because
big time, yeah.
It totally. Then that defines who you are as a musician, I think, more than anything. So
yeah,
it's really important to be playing with other musicians, and learning what they've got to teach. So
for sure, yeah. I'm gonna go to the next question. I mean, this is also tied with the whole like youth involvement type thing. I'm wondering your opinion on like what can like high school jazz bands or even middle school jazz bands. I never even had a middle school jazz band.
Yeah,
wish I did. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I was.
But what can they do better?
Yeah, what can they do better? Well, I think there's a lot they can do better.
And what do they do well, and what can they improve on?
Right.
That's a better way to word it.
Well, from my experience, I guess I first I had a middle school jazz band, and that I joined that in 6th grade, and I don't think I might have had like 1 or 2 encounters with jazz before that. At that music store, music and arts, but I didn't really know what it was about. And I did jazz band, all throughout middle school. Even in 7th and 8th grade, I stopped playing the drums, and I still was in the jazz band. And that was the only time I ever played. But then in 9th grade, I started taking private lessons again to join the high school jazz band because that was like a requirement. And then I really, from then on, from ninth grade to 10th grade, really, that was like, I started listening to jazz. That's basically what got me into jazz was high school jazz band. And we had two
sure.
jazz bands actually.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. You say that there was a requirement that you had to be taking private lessons.
Yeah, well, because
there are a lot of times, in my
Yeah.
band where it was just the teacher, like, trying to convince the student to start taking
they-
lessons.
Well, it was it wasn't an unusual requirement, but they wanted me to because I wasn't in the concert band. I had never done concert band before because in middle school, it was either take choir or you take band or orchestra. You couldn't do both like in high school, because they happened at like the same time, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
So I was always in choir. I never got to do band, and I actually joined band in 10th grade, but it was unusual. They knew I was pretty okay, so they let me join, and it was a requirement that I had to take private lessons because of that. So that kind of, thank God, because I don't know where I would be if that like one thing happened to be
Oh yeah.
if they didn't
Definitely.
have if I didn't have to, I could have been doing something else right now. I don't know. But,
yeah. I feel that.
Jazz band was it was a love-hate relationship in middle school, since I feel like I wasn't really into music. I mean, I was into music, but I didn't know that many different types of music, and jazz always just kind of sounded like the dumb, cheesy arrangements that you do in middle school, because they're made for like elementary level band, and I never really clicked with me, and I think with jazz bands and there should be a certain idiom of music that you play. There's a certain idiom, and I think there's a problem with jazz bands in these high schools and middle schools where they're playing these arrangements and these compositions that are basically just rock music, or funk music.
I've noticed that, yeah.
And it doesn't really introduce people to jazz and what jazz really is, because I definitely had never heard a genuine like jazz chart until freshman year of high school. In middle school, I basically never got that. Closest I ever got was like maybe a couple Latin charts like Mas Que Nada. But yeah, nothing besides that. Maybe what's that tune? Feliz Navidad for the Christmas concert. I think that might have been the closest thing to like an actual jazz, jazz band arrangement.
Wow.
But I think that's number one. The music has to be interesting to get these kids excited and interested and involved with the music.
Yeah, and can I ask one thing?
Yeah.
Would you say it was like in high school, the arrangements were like less cheesier and the tunes were better?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I feel like I experienced some of what you were saying in middle school, even in high school, in terms of I mean, maybe not the best tunes all the time, but definitely like the arrangements. Sometimes it was, I don't know.
Well, I know that a lot of friends that I've asked and other people, they had a similar experience as you, where playing like tunes like The Chicken, it's always The Chicken, or
I played that one, yeah.
Watermelon Man. Did you play Watermelon?
That, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I ever played Watermelon Man in middle school, but I played I Wish, this Stevie Wonder. Played some Stevie Wonder.
Oh wow!
But
yeah, I remember we played like all sorts of like stuff. We played what was it? it was some weird song. It was like it was kind of like a rock song from like the late '60s. It was called Vehicle.
Oh yeah,
Vehicle.
I had something called like Flashpoint, or something like that. It was like a rock tune, and also we did the Rocky theme song. What am I thinking of?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. I can't remember.
I'm surprised you did that in jazz band.
Yeah, middle school.
Oh.
But no, so in high school, my band director, he would do we do a lot of Ellington. A lot of Ellington charts. Because we would just do like the Lincoln Center ones that they released every year.
Oh.
And then we would, like in ninth grade, we went to the essentially Ellington like regional festival in Greenwich, and that was the first year that band ever did that, and then that was the kind of music that we were playing. So yeah, the charts that really showed me like what jazz was. The tunes, like some really classic tunes, like Harlem Congo and Sugar Hill Penthouse, Ellington charts, great tunes, and that definitely had a huge impact on me, because then I really knew what it sounded like, and it hit my eardrum right.
Yeah.
And it piqued my interest, to say the least. So.
I see. Yeah.
Sorry, did that answer the question?
No, you definitely have.
Yeah.
I just keep listening. I just keep thinking of other questions asked too as well. I'm just lost.
I know. I can't stop talking. That's my issue.
But I'm not actually lost. I just feel like there's so much to say about this question. I did want to go back to one thing, because I feel like you've really answered it well, but like I want you to explain how like the arrangements were like more like rock music, and how it doesn't really teach like the music the right way.
Yeah, because basically what you get is these kids, they're just playing what they've heard on the radio, and like these rock beats, and it's like it's very cookie cutter. Even the jazz, even where there is like a jazz beat, like on the drums, the ride cymbal and the high, like it is sort of traditionally, it doesn't really help them out. It's always notated as like some very simple beat that they want you to follow like at all times. Like it has all the parts written in for what you should play, and that's just that's not what jazz music's about. It's not about things written down. You can't play jazz. You can't write down jazz and play it like that, because that's just not what it's about. It's about listening and hearing and feeling it, and that's a huge issue with the kids, because they don't, when you're a kid, you don't know any better. Like, that definitely wouldn't encourage me to go look up jazz and discover more and dive into it, So you get all these kids playing funk charts, basically. Yeah. Funk and rock charts, and that's just not jazz. You can't call it jazz band. Call it the funk band. Call it the rock band. Don't call it the jazz band, because I think that just puts a sour
I don't think
taste in my mouth, man.
I don't think it's very respectful.
No, because jazz is something else.
For what it actually is,
and it can't. It's not these cookie cutter arrangement compositions that you've never heard of before from some nameless guy. Yeah. And that's what a lot of them are, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, I even remember, definitely some of that in high school. But, I was fortunate enough to have a couple really good teachers that were hip to stuff. And I was playing like, what's that tune? It's on Birth of the Cool.
Moon Dreams?
No.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a lot of tunes on that album.
Yeah, but we were playing good stuff, and you know, I mean, we even played Cherokee, you know, just like some real tunes, and it was great. But yeah, but there's definitely also some questionable things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and if I don't really want to go into education, but if I ever was, you know, that's where it's got to start. People just got to start doing that, you know. People just got to start going in and teaching from that level, from the young level.
Yeah.
I think even before middle school and junior high, I mean, in elementary school, I remember, you know, music class. Did you have a music class in elementary school?
We did, yeah.
You know, I guess that's just part of like standard curriculum, but you know, they'd show us the video, the movie Stomp. You know that one when they got the brooms out on the stage and they're hitting it and they're tapping their feet and like the garbage cans, they're smacking them. You ever seen that?
No, I remember watching Fantasia and
yeah.
I remember watching like something called like Little Amadeus or something. Like just random,
yeah, I
like,
remember watching like
nothing
Penn and Teller, I think,
did.
too. Things like that, like interesting little music bits.
Oh, I remember watching like some 90s like show about music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen all. I remember it all, and you know, they never really introduced. I mean, we live in America, you know. I think maybe we should be introduced to the music, the American art form, the one true American art form.
Yes,
and the greatest thing we've ever given to the world, and well, that's a shame that we don't. I mean, you know, the genre is not that old.
It isn't in the grand scheme.
And you know, everybody's heard classical music. Dum 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 dum. Right?
Yeah.
Come on, and there's just way more of that than jazz. And that seems weirder to me. That's the kind of stuff that everybody's exposed to. Nobody. And the problem that creates, and I was just thinking about this earlier today, was that the problem that creates is it makes it makes students, young kids, afraid to join jazz, like the jazz band. Have you ever thought about that?
I remember being really afraid to join. I remember watching Whiplash, and and then I joined it, you know, and then the other drummers just like, you know, I had been like preparing for like a year, you know, and then this other you know, I talked to the other drummer. He's like, "Yo, man, I just learned the swing pattern like a week ago."
Yeah,
you know, and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and that's a problem.
That movie made it seem scary.
And even before that, because you know the idea, and this is kind of where this weird jazz elite. These people who really haven't really made it anywhere in the music, that they love to talk like this. They're always talking about how difficult it is, and they're always gatekeeping, which is a huge issue because the students don't want to get involved with that because it's hard. They think, even though what they play in jazz band is not that much different from concert band, because, you know, as I said, these arrangements, these compositions are all written out for them. All the solos, they're not actually solos, they're just black dots on a page that you have to play.
I remember that.
You have to memorize.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, so it's... And that there's this total idea that it's like, it's really difficult, it's really scary, it can be embarrassing for you, like because I think kids are afraid of embarrassing themselves.
Isn't anybody?
Yeah, but there's a weird stigma around jazz, the jazz band, and it's... That's, I think, another huge issue plaguing schools, because, I mean, I just had someone talking to me the other day, like a former colleague, who was just saying, like, oh, I would never join the jazz band, or, like, you know, like, boy, do I not miss jazz band, you know, stuff like that, because they just didn't like memorizing all these solos and stuff.
Jeez,
it's just, and that's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah,
you can tell people just are afraid of it. Yeah, that's
yeah.
a
I
huge
mean, I just
issue.
feel bad for the person because, like, they didn't. I mean, that's not really playing the music.
Yeah,
It's
they didn't get like a fair chance to see what the music was and see how fun it could be and soul touching, and
Right. Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this all really leads to this, big third question that I have, and that's what can we do? What can schools do? I mean, what can elementary, middle, high school
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, so right off the bat, elementary school, there's plenty of videos out there of great performances, that are just fun to watch, like Dizzy playing Salt Peanuts. That one video, everyone's seen it. He's blowing his cheeks out really wide. Because,
I might have.
I'll show you later, but
I'd love to see
it's
it.
just fun, he's interacting with the crowd. It just makes it seem so fun. I think that would be things like that. That's great to show kids because it piques their interest. It gets them interested from a young age, and it makes it more likely for them to say, hey, maybe I want to see what this is about once I get to choose what instrument I want to play and join the school band. So, yeah, right off the bat in elementary school, start doing that. And then in middle school, we can just fix the repertoire that these kids are playing. These tunes, these funk tunes, these rock tunes, this is not jazz music. So let's get some real jazz music.
No more vehicle.
No more vehicle, no more Flashpoint.
No more doing the pig.
No more doing the pig, no more Flashpoint, no Feliz Navidad.
Oh, yeah.
No corny stuff. The Ellington arrangements I'd play in high school weren't even that hard. A lot of them, they're all written out. They're all transcribed by these Lincoln Center guys. You could have. I mean, they were meant for elementary school bands, basically. These like level 3 bands, like not even level. Start doing that in middle school because that gets them interested.
Yeah.
That shows what the music is, what it sounds like. Maybe encourage improvisation.
Exactly.
That's something. That's the
because we only really just sort of touched that in high school,
And I was lucky in high school.
And I feel like before you even start playing it, I don't know. It should be a lot more clear what it's about. That it's about
the improv. Yeah.
Right.
Luckily in high school, my teacher did end up making a class for jazz improv. My senior year. It's probably not even it's probably not gonna continue because no one would sign up for it. But yeah, it's about improvisation. So really, tell them that, introduce them to that, and they'll be interested. Somebody will be interested.
Yeah, many people.
No question. So I think that's what you can do with the middle schools. In high school, some harder charts. Don't stagnate on these easy ones. These cheesy ones. Get some interesting music. Thad Jones. Bob Brookmeyer charts. If I was playing that in high school, I think I would have gotten interested even earlier than I did.
Yeah.
Then really hammer home the improv thing in high school, because then I think it's a little hard to understand when you're younger, but when you're older, I think in high school too, there's more opportunities for theory classes, and the concert bands are a little bit more like theory rounded, so I think it wouldn't be a hard concept for a high schooler to start to understand and to get familiar with. And considering that's what the music's all about, I think that's really where it would start to take off with the younger generation.
Definitely.
Because that's the one thing it has that no other music has quite like we have it.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. You just got to get jazz started at a young age. That we live in America. Introduce them to jazz.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
I
a
mean,
big thing with this podcast that I'm going for. I mean, it's an unfortunate thing that a lot of people just don't appreciate jazz or don't know anything about it, or it's like, some joke from some TV show to them, and that's all they've really known about it. It's just...
Yeah, it's got a bad... I think it has just a bad reputation with these younger people because they didn't grow up with music like that. Now kids are growing up with electronic music, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love electronic music, but if that's all they're listening to, it definitely closes you. You can be pretty closed-minded about the musical environment and where it can be taken. So if you're not getting introduced to that kind of music, then you're never gonna get introduced to jazz.
Yeah.
Because that definitely gotta take baby steps with it, I think, but it's all worth it.
For sure.
And I mean the only reason I'm a drummer is because my dad played Bob Marley for me when I was a kid, when I was really young, for me and my sister, and I loved it. It would put me to sleep. I would dance to it. I'm a little baby, and I just remember seeing the percussionist in one of these Bob Marley concert DVDs, and I said I want to do that, and that's why I'm a drummer now. And I mean, if that could happen to a similar effect with jazz to somebody else, I mean, I think that's really incredible. That's what we need to see. So.
Yeah, and it totally can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a shame, like you said.
Yeah, I remember Eric Binder, he posted saying that. I mean, he had this big list of demands.
Yeah.
But that was one of the demands. And I looked at that and I thought about that, and I'm like, and he was talking about jazz being introduced in elementary school and just, pumping it up, really.
Yeah, and then he say stuff about what we play in middle school and high school and stuff.
It was very vague. It was
very vague.
Just a couple of words.
But yeah, he's right. He's right.
But he is right.
Start at a young age.
I definitely think he has a lot to say, I bet.
Mm-hmm. I bet he's a teacher, right? Yeah.
He is, yeah. So.
Yeah, but also the problem is the teachers. The teachers. A lot of people.
Oh, totally.
Coming out of school. I mean, when you're coming out of school, it's either you get a performance degree or you get an education degree. Pretty much, unless you're coming back 10 years later to get another one, But if you're coming right out of school with an education degree,
what does it mean?
I've
talked a lot about this with David.
It means you didn't have. I mean, unless you really are gigging around as a teacher, while you're a teacher and you're going to doing concerts and stuff. I mean.
There's a lot that do, but they just kind of play, corny gigs.
I mean, my director was like that. I mean, he had some knowledge, but I mean, again, it's
corny jazz. I mean, it's not even just not even jazz music. I mean, it's
corny music in general.
Oh yeah.
And that's bad because you don't have any experience. What it's like as a musician, what it's like for that to be your life, for that to be your lifestyle, not to be teaching it, but to be living it. That's something you don't get when you come right out of school with an education degree, and then what are you passing on to your students? What you haven't learned anything as a musician, really, besides what you learned in school out of textbooks.
Yeah.
Especially because these education degrees, they're what, I mean, they're all like classical oriented, degrees and things like that. That's their background.
Yeah,
it's very
I had a
one-sided.
big problem with that junior year with the teacher. I just I didn't learn anything, and I had to argue some things that I was right on, and that I've definitely been proved right on coming here.
Oh yeah, I had a lot to say.
Yeah,
myself. Yeah,
and I don't, with this podcast and what I'm saying or anything, I don't mean anything against high school and middle school teachers. And I had, the two other high school teachers I had were, very good. And I had one, teacher, she was there for my freshman and sophomore year, and she was, and a great musician, and, she gigged around a little bit too, and she, she just loved education, and she was great at it, and, she ended up leaving so she could get her master's and, start teaching at a university and stuff, which is great. And I remember she knew I wanted to go into performance, and I had asked her questions about it, and she knew people, and she was well connected,
Yeah, I was always told...
She helped me meet people that were gigging and just talk about it just at a young age, and she was the best.
Yeah, that's great. And I was always told that a performance degree was worthless. Like why would you go for a performance degree? At least get your education degree. But it's like, I know what a performance degree is. I know it's not going to get me a job. But also, I'm not going to school to get a job.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's a kind of the aspect, the thought process, I think, for these because I was told that by my music director at school, and she she would just say that, and it's like, one, that's not encouraging for anybody looking to do that. Two, you went to school so that you could get a degree to get a job. I'm going to school for the education so that I can further my craft and use my craft to make a living.
Yeah.
I'm not going to school to get a job. I'm working my ass off behind the drum kit to get a job.
Yeah.
That's not about, forget school at all,
Well, yeah,
I think even,
it's not what the career is about.
Yeah.
It's about playing,
it's about the music. It's not about the school.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. And performance degrees, that's what going to school for jazz is, or contemporary music even is. It's a performance-based major, so that really steers students away, and it's sad. Definitely. So.
Yeah.
That's one thing I would hope can be fixed and resolved.
For sure, yeah.
Just let kids figure out what they want to do, because if they like music, you don't know who they could turn out to be. They could be the next Jimi Hendrix. You don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's all I have to say about that, really.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just a very, general thing. It's just to, follow your dreams. Even though that's, cliche. It's cliche for a reason. But, to encourage someone on a craft and everything.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the education of jazz.
It's hard work.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard work. That's
right.
what it takes. So
yeah,
it's not like you're going to be some bum living with his parents.
Yeah.
And for no reason, I'd be living with my parents because I couldn't afford, because it's hard being a musician.
Oh, yeah.
But I still work my ass off. try to make a
Yeah.
living with it. That would be, I mean, come on.
It's the
It's
way to
encourage the young kids, the young generation. If
Yeah.
I wasn't encouraged at all, then I wouldn't be doing anything with my life. So
Yeah.
wouldn't be here talking with you.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have those, great high school teachers and great private teachers, I wouldn't be here. I mean, I remember it took me years just to I really always wanted to do music, and took me years to actually convince myself I really wanted to. I kept thinking there's no way I could just do that. But by the end of my freshman year, I was just like, what else am I gonna do? This is so fun.
Yeah,
And
it's because it speaks to
yeah.
people like us, like musicians. It's like, how could I not do this? How could I not do this? This is everything to me.
Definitely.
This consumes my world on a whole other level.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that. I think it's all about getting a job, making money, but it's about the hard work and the love you put into your instrument and your craft, your art, whatever it is. That's what it's about. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's even a program in Utah. Matt was asking me about it, and I had friends that were in it, and they at least one of them left the program, and the director of the program was way into just the image of the band. He had the band do all the horns do a choreography and stuff, and they were playing all. I was told to try out for this thing, and it would make me an amazing musician and whatever, But all it was driving out, an hour to this place in wherever wherever, and they were just playing rock and funk and whatever tunes, and it was just this big stage band.
Yeah.
And I was told that was the ultimate thing for youth musicians, and they were amazing, and they tore to play music.
Oh, that's so lame.
Yeah, and the guy who ran it was just all about image, and I've just been told many quotes where he doesn't even like jazz because it doesn't make money. It's and this guy's a mentor for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. That's terrible. You can't have that mentality.
Yeah.
That's no good. I mean, to say that would make you some fantastic musician. Because then that,
Yeah, I mean,
imagine anybody else getting told that.
And that was the same teacher who didn't,
yeah,
know anything about jazz,
So, and then imagine them saying that to anybody else who maybe didn't know if they liked music yet or something like that.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
And
if I weren't, 16, 17, all hyped up, oh, I'm gonna do my thing. I mean, if I were young and I had heard that, I don't know what I would have done. I'm not trying to attack these people and put them on the spot. I'm not naming names, but they just really bring questions to mind. It's
yeah.
I mean, I just think about these things. It's wow. I mean, these are, this is just the kind of mentorship. I have talked to people that have received this mentorship.
Yeah. Kids don't deserve that.
Yeah.
And music doesn't deserve that.
Definitely.
I hope that in the future, I think music is taken on a weird thing now with the internet. and how accessible things really are now. I mean, the videos you can watch, all this inspiring stuff. I hope that kids see this, and then that maybe the next generations, or I mean, we're seeing it with our generation. I think I mean, it feels like more and more people want to be involved in music, right? I mean, there's so many musicians, it's ridiculous. I mean, just in where I grew up in alone, Long Island is, and the city in New York City, it's just like, I mean, there's so many musicians, it's incredible.
That's great, yeah.
And that's because the environment is so nurturing of music and art forms.
And that's 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 one of the biggest reasons I moved here.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm going for in discussing in this podcast is this. Why can't every place be like New York? With all this all these great things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's many reasons and everything, but it's just what can we do? What can I do? I want to go back to Salt Lake City. I don't know how much things will change, and I'd like to
be a part of it, right?
Yeah, I'd like to teach when I'm older and teach people how to play and teach people the art form.
I hope that's what I can do too. Once you put all that experience under your belt. Quincy Davis was talking to me, and he was just saying that like he didn't get. He came out of school with a performance degree, and he didn't get his education degree until I think he said 10 years later. And during that 10 years, he gigged all around New York City, and he gained all that experience, that invaluable experience, like that you just can't get. You don't get that from school.
Yeah, I mean, that was like what Steve Lyman did. I can't exactly remember if his master's was performance or education, but I mean, that dude, he was, went to the University of Utah, transferred to the New School, and then played, with Jose James and all these other things, and then, went back to the University of Utah and got a master's and, like, started teaching at the University of Utah, started teaching at other schools and teaching all sorts of lessons and everything. He still is to this day. And I think that's an important thing, and I've tried to, like, I almost want to do that. I want to emulate that in my life. And, like, I'm really happy you brought that up, because that's what I really want to do. I really just want to live with the music as I'm young and just get my experience. I don't feel like I'm ready to settle down, and I'm no expert at all. I'm just a beginner, really.
No.
I think I feel like it's preposterous to me, at least for me, that I could teach right now. Or at least in the next couple.
Yeah,
years,
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
If there's no way I could teach coming out of school. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not even feasible. I am nowhere. I would be nowhere near when we're out of school. By the time we're out of school, we're going to be nowhere near masters of the instrument still.
Yeah.
Of our own instruments. Being an expert on music to teach kids, that's even further out of like, I mean, that is just a lifetime's worth of experience you would need. And I think it's even more valuable. That's why I think it's more valuable. If you get an education degree, you're going right into a school, and you're there for however many years, a long time.
You're stuck in academia.
You don't know. Yeah, you're stuck in academia. You don't know anything about the scene. You don't know anybody on the scene. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what kinds of music are being played. So I think if you get a performance degree, whatever degree you get, honestly, if you just don't go right into education, and you start playing on your own, out on the scene, make a name for yourself, maybe. If you have just like years of experience like that, You don't need an education degree. You're a better teacher than anybody that got an education degree.
Oh yeah, big time. It's not about degrees.
No
it's
question.
About music.
Yeah, but that's the issue. A lot
Mentality
of
with a lot of
a lot of
people,
people who got education degrees are like, yeah, performance degrees are worthless.
Yeah.
And that's just sad. That's just sad because you know the truth. It's like, what did you do? You went to school for 4 years or 6 years maybe, and that makes you an expert.
Yeah, I mean, you can't read everything out of a book.
I think playing music out in the scene for 6 years, as opposed to school for 6 years, that's. I mean, there's no comparison.
There isn't, yeah. But yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, we've discussed a lot. I mean, I really didn't expect this to go as long.
Well, there's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to
unpack.
About, yeah, and really, what you're saying is, or the reason I came here to this school is just people that are involved, educators that are involved, or at least were involved. Before they just became a teacher. These people didn't just become teachers. They're teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're teachers. They're musicians first and teachers after, in the right way. That's the way I look at it. They don't think about money, teaching.
Yeah. And even on a college university level, like you get. I mean, good thing our professors are. They're performers, so they really know what's going on and how to prepare you for that kind of stuff. That's great. I mean, so much invaluable information. Because stuff that you'd never learn from somebody who just went from school got a degree and went right into a teaching position.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we said a lot today. That's a lot to unpack. That's a lot of truth. A lot of things that need to change.
It is, for sure, yeah. But yeah, it was a pleasure talking with Aidan and asking Aidan these questions. This concludes the first podcast on Jazz Right Now. And thank you for listening.